the previous video, we looked at the lock, unlock, set business required and set field value actions of business rules. In this video, we'll look at making a field appear or not appear action of business rules. Okay, so let me explain the business logic which I'm going to be implementing. So basically, there's this field called relationship type in the account. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is, if the relationship type is set to vendor, then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be recording the vendor ID. Vendor ID is a field which is going to store the ID of that vendor. So as the name indicates for that field, it is not applicable for the other relationship types like competitor, consultant, customer. All these will not have a vendor ID. Only vendor will have a corresponding vendor ID. Okay, so if the relationship type is set to vendor, make the field appear. If it's not set to vendor, and if it's something else, then it shouldn't appear. Okay, so let me go ahead and implement that business logic. So I'm going to the business rules section of the account entity, clicking on new. Let me give a name, vendor ID business rule. Okay, now I'm going to give my condition. Check if relationship type is equal to vendor. Then I'm going to check the field, which is relationship type. Then I'm going to check if it's equal to a particular value, which is vendor. Then I'm just going to click on apply. Okay, and then I'm going to configure my actions. That is, if it satisfies the condition and if it does not satisfy the condition. So let me configure the action for when it satisfies the condition first. So what I want to do is I want to make a field appear or not appear. So to do that, I just need to click on set visible, then drag and drop it. So as the name indicates, it will make a field visible or not visible. Okay, so give a name for it. Make vendor ID visible. And choose a field which is vendor ID. Then set the visibility to yes. Then just click on apply. Then similarly, if it's not satisfying the condition, then it shouldn't be appeared. Okay, so I'm just going to call it make vendor ID visible. Choose vendor ID and then visible. Just going to click on no. Okay, so yeah, simple business rule which I'm going to be implementing. So I'm just going to click on apply. Okay, so my business rule is ready. So now for this business rule, I'm going to be setting the scope to only one particular form. That is, I want the business rule to be applied on only one particular form, which is the account form. So I'm just going to select that. So this business rule will be applied only on the account form. If you have any other form open, then that business rule will not be applied. Okay, so let's check that out. Okay, so let me go ahead and validate the business rule. Validation is successful. Now I'm going to save it, then I'm going to activate it. I'm going to click on activate. Okay, it's activated. Now let me go ahead and publish my customizations. Okay, so once it's published, I'm going to minimize this, do an empty cache and hard reload first. Okay, once it's done, I'm going to close this and I'm just going to click on new. Okay, so right now it is on the account form. Okay, so the business rule will be applied. Okay, so let me test it out. So I'm going to call it test relationship type business rule. So let me first change the relationship type to vendor. Let's see what happens. So there you go. The vendor ID field is appearing when I change it to vendor. Now if I change it to something else like partner maybe, that field will no longer appear. Okay. So let me change the form. So if I change the form, the business rule should not be applied. That is, by default, that vendor ID field will be appearing. Okay. So let me check it out. So let me change it to account for interactive experience. Discard the changes. So there you go. Over here, if you see, by default the vendor ID is appearing because the business rule is not being applied on this form. Okay. So even if I select something like say partner, the vendor ID will continue to be appearing because the business rule is not applied on this. So that is how you define scope for a business rule. In the next video, we'll look at the show error message action of business rule.